The story kicks off at the city's most expensive hotel, the kind of place that screams money. If you've got cash to burn, this hotel will let you get away with basically anything. The rich kids who hang out here treat the female workers like they own them, so most normal girls avoid working at this place. Inside the hotel, some spoiled rich kid starts talking. He calls out to a girl named Xiao Qin to come over. Xiao Jin gets nervous and tells him she's busy with work right now and can't chat. The rich guy gets pissed and calls her names, saying just because he was being nice doesn't mean she can act all high and mighty, then straight up asks how much she wants for sleeping with him. He waves around some fancy diamond ring, offering it as payment for one night. He reminds her that everyone knows her family is broke and desperate for money. He brings up how her loser brother goes around town acting like he's rich when he's not, forcing their whole family to work just to survive, then offers to fix all their money problems if she spends a few nights with him. Xiao Jin stands her ground and tells him to keep his nasty offer and stop talking trash about her brother. The spoiled brat gets furious, dumps water all over his own pants, and starts yelling. He demands the manager make this waitress clean his pants with her tongue instead of her hands. The manager actually starts moving toward Xiao Chen to make her do it. That's when her so-called useless brother Muuji, who's actually our main character, shows up out of nowhere. He grabs the manager and straight up launches him across the room. Everyone in the hotel starts whispering about how that's Xiao Jin's brother Muuji and wondering what this supposed loser is doing there. The rich kid steps up and starts screaming at him, asking if he knows who he's messing with. Muuji doesn't even hesitate and slams the guy straight into the floor. He asks if the punk bothered checking who he was before deciding to mess with his sister. Sun yells out that he's the only heir to the Sun property empire and he's gonna knock that fake rich boy act right out of him. Right then, Sujin shows up. She's the daughter of the city's wealthiest businessman. Sujin starts roasting him, telling him he thinks he can mess with this guy's status when even the richest families in the country wouldn't dare touch him. She calls the Sun family a bunch of nobodies who only own 4 buildings and tells him to bounce before she calls his dad, because if his father finds out he messed with young Master Mu, things are gonna get real bad real quick. The young master's son gets scared and runs off like a coward. Sujin turns to Mu with a proud smile and asks how she did. Xiao Jin gets nervous and tells her brother they've already caused enough drama and should probably get out of there. Mu asks his sister why she was even working at such a nasty place. Xiao Jin explains that their bills were getting crazy high and their mom was stressing hard about money, so when she saw the good pay, she felt like she had no other choice. She mentions she hasn't even had time to change out of her work clothes, and everyone's been staring at her. Sujin grins and says she knows the perfect spot where they can grab some new clothes. They head over to the most expensive shopping center in the city, and Xiao Jin starts checking out all the clothes. But when she sees the price tags, she freaks out and tells them these clothes cost way too much and there's no way they can buy them. Sujin just laughs and says it looks like even Xiao Jin doesn't really know what her brother is capable of. The guy has more money than he knows what to do with, and buying her some clothes is basically pocket change for him. He could literally purchase this whole shopping center if he felt like it, so she shouldn't stress about it and just pick whatever she wants. Xiao Jin's mind is blown and she's thinking there's no way this is real. Her brother never had money like this before, and she can't figure out how everything changed so fast. Muuji knows why she's so confused because the brother she remembers was just a screw-up who made life harder for everyone, but he's not that same person anymore. He actually went to war with time itself and managed to travel back to fix all the things that went wrong. After grinding for 5,000 years straight, he was literally one step away from becoming the first human to reach God status. But he gave up everything just to come back to this moment, this time around. He's going to make sure his mom and sister get to live the good life they always deserved, and make all his enemies pay for what they did. To Shihan, you wrecked my family and ruined my past life when I couldn't fight back, but now I'm back and you're about to find out just how badly you messed up. After getting thrown back in time, Muuji heads straight to his dorm room. He's thinking the first move has to be getting some serious cash so he can actually help his family out. Right when he sits down, his roommates walk in and immediately start talking trash. One of them starts being fake nice, saying, "Oh look, young Master Mu skipped class again, must have had some big shot business meeting, and since us broke kids are starving, maybe he could buy us dinner." Muuji just completely ignores all of them. That ticks off another roommate who gets heated and threatens to tell the whole class he's actually broke and not some rich kid, demanding money for food or else everyone's gonna know the truth tomorrow. The other guys try acting like peacemakers, telling him to chill because the dude's probably just low on cash right now, and if they stay cool about it, this fool might still hook them up. When they start getting closer to him, Mu just grabs his stuff and heads for the door, saying whatever, tell whoever you want, I really don't care. He's thinking about how going back in time wiped out all his powers, and he needs to get them back fast because he doesn't have time for these clowns. Mu hits up a computer store and sells his laptop for $800. Walking away with the cash, Mu realizes what a complete mess he was back then. While his mom was grinding day and night trying to pay off their debt, he was out here playing pretend rich boy at school, and even though he knew how broke his family was, he kept asking them for money until they had nothing left, and now he's got to make it right. That's when he spots his little sister Milan hanging around nearby. Mu remembers exactly what happened. In his old life, Milan ended up dying just to keep him alive, and it was all because of that piece of trash, Yu Shihan. Milan walks up and asks what's going on and why he called her over. Muji quickly tells her it's nothing, he was just checking on her. Inside his head, he's thinking about how he's going to protect his little sister this time around, since he was such a failure before. Mulin pulls out $5,000 from her bag and says she's been working part-time and this is her paycheck, so he should take it for his monthly stuff and stop asking their mom for money since she's already busting her back because of him. She tells him not to even try refusing it. She says he can take the cash and blow it on his buddies like always. Muji quietly tells her he doesn't want the money and she should keep it for herself, especially since her school fees aren't even paid yet. Mulin says thanks for caring but not to worry about school because she already dropped out. Muji's jaw drops and he asks her why the hell she quit school. Mulin tells him their family is drowning in debt and she can't even think straight in class anymore because of all the stress. But don't stress about it, young Master Mu. You'll still get everything you want, even if I have to quit school or we go hungry. You won't have to deal with any problems. Muji pulls her into a tight hug and tells her he's sorry for being such a terrible brother. He knows she probably doesn't believe him right now, but he promises everything's gonna change in just a few days. Mulan's confused because her brother is acting completely different than usual. After that, Muji hits up a herb shop and buys a bunch of medicinal stuff. Then he heads deep into the woods to work on making something with them. He realizes the spiritual energy on Earth is basically non-existent compared to what he's used to. Since that's all he's got to work with, he's going to make a spiritual potion to get his strength back. Once he finishes brewing it, he chugs the whole thing down. He sits down cross-legged and starts cultivating. Muji breaks down the cultivation system. There are 5 levels: Key Refining, Golden Core, Nascent Soul, Heavenly Realm, and God Realm. Thanks to his past life experience, he can cultivate 10 times faster than regular people. Once he hits Key Refining stage, he'll be strong enough to take on 100 guys by himself. After grinding for a full hour, Muji finally breaks through to the Key Refining stage. He tests his new strength by throwing a punch that blasts a huge hole straight through a tree. He grins, knowing that with this kind of power, making money is going to be way easier and he knows exactly where to start. Muji heads to a nearby internet cafe. He logs onto the dark web and thinks about how you can make serious cash by taking on missions there. He spots a hit job for assassinating Sujin, some rich businessman's daughter. The mission's already been claimed by Killer B, who's basically the most dangerous assassin on the dark web. The comments are going crazy, everyone's saying Sujin is done for since Killer B never misses his targets. Muji realizes someone's dropping 10 million just to take out one girl, which means her dad must have some seriously powerful enemies. Out of nowhere, another mission pops up, this one posted by Sujin's dad. The reward, 20 million. The job was protecting his daughter as a bodyguard for a whole month. Everyone's too scared to take it. The comments go crazy, people saying Suin's loaded but going against Killer B is basically suicide. They're telling the Su family to just give up. Muji grins and thinks this mission looks pretty interesting, so he accepts it. Whole dark web loses its mind. Everyone's wondering who this crazy newbie is that's willing to go up against Killer B. They're already calling it experienced killer versus some rookie. This is going to be wild to watch. Muji grabs his phone and tells them he's chilling at a PC cafe and needs a ride. Su-Win's secretary can't believe it and starts questioning if the guy who took the mission is even legit, or if he just wants easy money from some internet cafe. Su-Win stays cool about it, saying it's already impressive that someone actually had the guts to accept the mission. They'll figure out how strong this guy really is once he shows up. Muji rolls up to Su-Win's place. Su-Win looks at him and thinks this kid doesn't look like he could handle Killer B at all. Su-Won keeps it polite and introduces himself as the one who posted the mission, calling him Mr. Wuji. Muji gets straight to business, saying they need to check out the area first and he wants to hear what went down while they walk around. Su-Win breaks it down. Everyone knows he's a big shot in business, but he had this enemy running shady operations who was trying to take him down, so he got the cops involved and figured that would be the end of it. But right before the guy got locked up, he put a hit out on Su-Win's daughter, and now Su-Win's completely lost on what his next move should be as they're checking out the property. Muji stays calm and points out that even though everything looks chill here, there's actually a ton of security hiding around the house. Plus he can already spot 2 guys on the east rooftop keeping tabs on them. Su-Win's mind is blown. They've barely been walking for 2 minutes, and this guy already has the whole area mapped out. Muji keeps his cool and tells him straight up that no matter how many bodyguards he's got posted around here, they're all going to be completely useless against Killer B. Right then, the secretary calls out that Master Lin just pulled up. Master Lin admits he really wanted to bring a whole crew to help out. But the second everyone found out they'd be going up against Killer B, they all bailed on him so he could only bring his student, Sha Chun. But he tells Su-Win not to give up hope since they're tight, and he's ready to put everything on the line to keep his daughter safe. Then he asks who this young guy is supposed to be. Su-Win tells him this is the person who took the bodyguard mission. Master Lin just stares at him, thinking this dude's basically still a kid. What's some teenager gonna do against a professional killer? Sha Chun steps up with a smirk and starts roasting him. He tells the kid to go buy some snacks with his allowance instead of wasting everyone's time here. Says he probably saw that fat 20 million payout and jumped on it without even knowing who Killer B is. Claims one look at the assassin would make him piss himself and tells him to bounce before it's too late. Master Lin shuts down his student for being disrespectful, and Suin backs him up saying they shouldn't be fighting each other. But deep down, Suin's thinking the same thing. This kid looks way too young and there's no way he can actually stop Killer B. Suin asks what kind of strategy he's got planned to keep his daughter safe. Muuchi just shrugs it off, saying they don't need some master plan for dealing with Killer B. He tells them to get rid of all the security cameras and bodyguards since they're just burning money for nothing, says he's got this handled solo. Master Lin's convinced this kid has no clue how dangerous Killer B actually is, which explains why he's talking like it's no big deal. Muuji keeps going, saying the real reason he wants them gone is because they'll just get in his way. He doesn't want weak people messing up his work. He looks at Master Lin and Sha-chun and tells them they're decent enough to help out so they can stick around. Sha-chun completely loses it and starts yelling, asking who this kid thinks he is, some kind of master giving out orders like everyone has to listen to him. Muuji gets cold and says he's done with all the talking. He suggests letting every bodyguard come at him at once so they can see who's really got skills. They all head to an open area where Suin gets worried and tells Mr. Wuji he should just fight Sha-chen one-on-one instead of taking on everyone and getting hurt, but Muuji stays chill and says not to stress about it. Sha-chun grins and thinks this cocky kid is about to get absolutely destroyed. Every single bodyguard charges straight at him. When they see Muuji just standing there not even trying to dodge, they get even more fired up. Right before any of their hits can land on him, some kind of invisible force blasts them all backwards and leaves them completely wrecked on the ground. Suin couldn't believe what he just saw. This kid kept his hands in his pockets the whole time. But somehow he sent every single bodyguard flying. Master Lin stared in complete shock, thinking there's no way someone this young could be that strong. Nouchi turned his attention to Sha-chun and told him it was his turn. Sha-chun rushed at him with everything he had. Nouchi hit him with some kind of invisible force. The guy went flying just like all the others. Nouchi casually looked around and asked if anyone else wanted to try their luck. Master Lin quickly dropped to his knees and begged for forgiveness, admitting they had no idea how powerful he really was. Sha-chun couldn't understand why his master was backing down and asked if he could actually beat this kid. Master Lin snaps back, "Defeat him? Are you crazy? I'm absolutely nothing next to this guy. Even Mr. Speed, the strongest grandmaster in our whole city, couldn't take him down. He'd be lucky just to keep up." Suin's jaw drops as he asks if even Mr. Speed can't handle him. Master Lin explains that Mr. Speed just became a grandmaster, but this kid Wuji is already at the absolute top of that level. Everyone just stood there completely blown away by what they'd heard. Right then, Sujin wakes up and calls out asking what all the commotion outside is about. Suin bows respectfully and tells Wuji that after seeing what he can do, he's totally confident leaving his daughter's protection to him, asking if there's anything he needs. Uji tells him there are 2 things he needs to handle: get his payment transferred and make sure everyone follows his orders no matter what. Su quickly agrees, saying he'll get it all sorted out. Muuji then casually mentions he needs to step out for a day. Everyone freaks out asking what he means he's leaving, wondering what happens to Sujin if Killer B shows up while he's gone. Muuji stays cool and tells them they can just send his daughter along with him. Right then, Sujin walks downstairs. Su gets mad and scolds her, asking what kind of outfit she's wearing when they have guests over. Sujin fires back that she's stuck at home all day because of this killer situation, so she doesn't even bother getting dressed up anymore. Master Lin jumps in and tells Suwon to chill out, saying that being cooped up inside all the time is getting to the kid. Sujin looks around confused and asks her dad who this random guy is. Suwon gets serious and tells her to show some respect, explaining that this is the Grandmaster who came to protect her, and if she disrespects him, he'll deal with her himself. Muuchi looks at her and says for the next month she needs to do exactly what he tells her if she wants to stay alive and safe. Sujin perks up and says since he was talking about going out earlier, she wants to come too because she's going crazy being stuck inside. Siwon thinks about it and says if they both want to go, he won't stop them. But Sujin, keep this in mind, don't give Mr. Muji any trouble at all. You can't go anywhere by yourself unless he says it's cool. Sujin thinks to herself that she'll play along while Dad's around, but once they're out there, she'll see how this bodyguard tries to boss her around. They head outside and Muji pulls out his phone to check. Yep, the 20 million just hit his account. Susan gets all hyped and tells the driver to take her to the mall because she hasn't been shopping in forever. Muji stays totally chill and says nah, they're hitting up Longshin University first. Sujan gets annoyed and tells him he can't just order her driver around, they go where she wants to go. She turns to the driver and asks Uncle Kwan whose orders he's actually going to follow. Uncle Kwan looks uncomfortable but says her father told him to do whatever Mr. Muichi says, so he can't listen to her this time. Sujin gets mad and tells him to pull over because if nobody's going to listen to her, she's not riding with them. Muji keeps his cool and just tells the driver to stop the car. Sujin hops out and says she's done with this, she'll just go by herself and doesn't need their stupid car. The second she steps outside though, the crazy heat just hits her like a wall. She immediately jumps back into the car because it's way too hot out there. Muji looks at her and says straight up, follow what I say and you can go anywhere you want. But if you keep acting up, I'm telling your dad to lock you in your room for good. They finally pull up to Longshin University after the drive. Sujin looks around confused and says this is wild, he's getting paid tons of money to protect her. But he's living in some basic place like this? Muichi just tells her to come along with him. Sujin stops and points out that this is literally the guy's dorm. There's no way she can just walk in there. The driver tells her that Master Su said she has to stick with Mr. Wuji no matter what. Muuji says if she wants to hit the mall later, he'll come along, but only if she actually listens to him. They walk into Muuji's dorm room together. Sujin couldn't believe what she was seeing. His roommates were just chilling in their underwear playing games. One of the guys gets up and starts laughing, saying, "Wow, young Master Mu is really something, bringing a hot girl back here." His buddy jumps in saying they're all friends here, so Mu better not be selfish and should let them have some fun with her too. Muuji's voice goes ice cold as he tells them to shut up before they seriously regret it. The roommates just laugh harder, asking what he's going to do about it and saying they'd love to see him try something. Muuji stays totally calm and says fine, they wanted this, so they can't blame him for what happens next. He powers up his legendary Jinjutsu technique. Whole room suddenly got filled with this terrifying vibe that made everyone freeze up. His roommates just dropped to the floor shaking like crazy and actually wet themselves while begging him not to hurt them. Sujin stared at them freaking out and asked what he did to them, but Muuji just shrugged and said they were stuck in some nightmare he created. He told her to wait up while he grabbed his stuff real quick. Back in the car, Sujin was still shook and asked if he just used some kind of dark magic or something. Muuji smirked and said since she saw his abilities, maybe he should make sure she keeps quiet about it. Sujin immediately started panicking and promised she was cool and wouldn't say anything. Muuji started laughing and told her he was just messing with her. For someone who acts tough, she gets scared pretty easily. Right then, Muuji's phone rang and it was Mu Lin calling, so he told the driver to head over to that fancy hotel. When they got there and saw the hotel, Muuji was completely stunned, thinking why the hell is Mu Lin working at this place? While Sujin just laughed and said his taste in spots was actually pretty solid. When they walked in, a waitress came up to take their order and Muuji asked if there was a girl named Mulan working there who she could call over. The waitress smiled and said, "Oh, you mean Xiao Jin, since that's what everyone calls her around here, and she'd get her in about 5 minutes." A little while later, Mulan came walking over to their table to serve them. Muuji was absolutely floored, thinking what is his sister even doing working at a place like this? Out of nowhere, some young master dude just straight up slapped Mulan on the butt. Muuji's face went completely dark as he thought that piece of trash better prepare himself because nobody messes with his sister like that. He immediately jumped up and gave that young master a beatdown he'd never forget. After handling business, he took his sister straight to the most expensive shopping mall in the whole city. When Mulan saw all those crazy price tags, she started backing away from the clothes like she couldn't even think about buying anything. Sujin tells her straight up that her brother could literally buy the whole mall if he wanted to, so she shouldn't stress about the prices and just pick whatever she likes. Mulan can't wrap her head around it and asks how that's even possible when her brother was always broke, but Sujin explains that he's actually this crazy skilled fighter who makes serious bank protecting people. Once they finish shopping and had bags full of clothes, Muuji lets her know he just dropped 200,000 into her account and tells her to use what she needs and send the rest home to their mom. Mulan looks at him with curious eyes and asks where all this cash actually came from. Muuji thinks for a second and asks if she'd believe him if he said some mysterious old master taught him how to fight. Mulan just laughs and says there's no way she'd believe that, but honestly, she doesn't really have another explanation either. She tells him she's genuinely happy seeing how much he's changed and that she'll definitely tell their mom about it, and Muuji asks her to say sorry to their mom for him. Mulan shakes her head and says that's something he needs to handle himself when he's ready. Sujin checks the time and tells them they should probably get going now. Sujin grinned and said she helped him out big time today, so now he owes her and needs to pay her back somehow. Muuji just sighed and told her she could do whatever she wanted for the rest of the day and he wouldn't try to stop her. So they headed back to the mall so she could go on another shopping spree. Muuji watched her go crazy buying stuff and thought to himself the girls are absolutely unbeatable when it comes to shopping. She got so much in just 1 hour. Right when they were getting ready to bounce, Muuji spotted something that didn't look right. Their driver asked if everything was good and if there was some kind of problem. Muuji stayed cool and said not right now, but something bad was definitely about to go down, while somewhere else one of Killer Bee's guys told his boss they left and it was time to make their move. When their car hit this empty road, there was this huge tree just lying there blocking the whole path. The driver was totally confused because that tree definitely wasn't there a couple hours ago and had no idea where it came from. Then, out of nowhere, they heard a gunshot ring out. Before the bullet could hit the driver, Muuji stepped in. Muuji caught the bullet with his bare hand. Muuji thought to himself that he'd outgrown dealing with amateur stuff like this. These killers were stuck in the past. He flicked his wrist and sent the bullets flying right back at whoever shot them. Both assassins dropped dead instantly. Sujin woke up and got out of the car, yawning and asking what all that noise was about. Driver Kwan was on the ground yelling at her to get back inside because people were shooting. Sujin got worried and asked if they were really under attack. She caught a weird smell in the air and wondered what it was. Muuji realized they were using knockout gas and decided to see how desperate these guys really were, so he found a hiding spot. The assassins stepped out feeling pretty confident about the whole situation. They figured catching their target was basically a joke at this point. One of them started talking trash, wondering where this supposed master was who took 20 million to protect Suwon's daughter, thinking he must have bailed the second he heard Killer Bee's name. That's when Mouji walked out and hit them with the coldest stare, asking which crew they were running with. The assassins immediately knew they were screwed. This dude had been playing them the whole time. One of them tried to act tough, yelling about how he messed up coming alone and that numbers would beat skill. He kept going on about how they'd destroy him completely. Mouji just stood there looking bored and told them they had no clue how outmatched they were, saying he didn't even need his hands and that one leaf would do the job. He grabbed a random leaf and went absolutely crazy with it, cutting through every single one of them like they were nothing. The last guy standing was completely losing it, wondering what kind of monster they'd run into since everyone said Longshin City was supposed to be full of weaklings. Mouji just stared at the guy with ice-cold eyes and told him his hearing must be broken since he still hadn't answered the question. He said the dude better start talking now or he'd end up like his buddies. The assassin let out this weak laugh and asked if Mouji really thought killers were scared of dying. He said sorry, but Mouji wasn't getting jack from him. The guy bit down on some poison pill and dropped dead right there. Mouji let out a frustrated sigh and remembered that assassins never crack that easy. He figured whatever, he'd get more shots at catching that piece of trash Killer B later. He used his powers to blast that massive tree out of the road like it was nothing. Then he realized he needed to get everyone back up and awake. He carefully used his abilities to wake up Sujin, hoping in his head that she'd come to once he finished doing his thing. If she wakes up too soon, she's going to make this whole situation way more complicated. Sujin opened her eyes and asked what he was doing there, and Mouji just shrugged and said he was saving some reckless girl's life, nothing more than that. Sujin looked around at all the bodies and wanted to know who these people were. Mouji told her they were assassins who came to take her out, and honestly they were lucky they had to deal with him instead. Driver Quan finally got up too and asked what the hell just went down. Mouji said they should head back to the mansion first and he'd break everything down once they got there. Once they made it home, Mouji laid out the whole story for everyone. Su-won explained that these killers were from this assassin city called Hidden in the Leaf, and every assassin from there had this leaf mark on their hand. They basically worked as a team to complete their hits. Mouji realized there was a whole city full of these killers, which explained why Killer B hadn't shown up himself yet. The guy was obviously testing his skills by sending his crew first. Su-won said he was even more worried about his daughter's safety now. Mouji told him to chill out, as long as they kept their guard up they'd be totally fine. Then he asked Mr. Su if he had any jade lying around. Su said yeah, he had tons of the stuff. He turned to his secretary and told him to grab some jade for Mr. Wuji. Mouji checked out the jade they brought him. He nodded and said this would definitely work for what he needed. Su started laughing, saying jade was just for keeping ghosts away and asking if that's what he was going for, since nobody really bought into that stuff anymore. Master Lin jumped in and said people these days might not have power, but Mr. Wuji was different. If he said it mattered, then it mattered. Su quickly backed down and said sorry for running his mouth. Later that night, Mouji worked on the jade, doing whatever he needed to do to it. Then he headed straight to Sujin's room. Sujin cracked open the door and was like, "Dude, it's literally midnight, what are you doing here?" Mouji handed her something and told her to wear it all the time, no matter what. Sujin's face turns red as she asks why he's bringing her something this late at night. That same night, Mouji calls everyone together. He asks the bodyguards to hand over their guns. He throws a piece of jade up in the air and shoots it with a bullet. The bullet bounces right off the jade like it's nothing. Master Lin can't believe what he's seeing and says artifacts like this go for crazy money. But then the jade suddenly breaks apart. Su Wen and Master Lin both freak out, asking if it only works once and breaks after saving someone. Mouji stays cool and tells them everything he makes lasts forever. This was just a demo version. Everyone's minds are blown, realizing if the test version was already that insane, the real deal must be next level. Mouji tells them this pendant will literally save their life 5 times straight. Su-eun gets excited and says Mr. Wuji is going all out to keep them safe, then asks if he can hook up his daughter with one too. Mouji says he already gave Sujin hers, plus he made 2 extras for his sister and mom that need to be delivered, and Su-won says he's got it covered. The next morning, Sujin stares at the jade bracelet Mouji crafted for her and thinks, there's no way she's wearing something that looks this ancient. She heads for the door to leave. Su-eun stops her and says it's way too risky out there for her to be going anywhere. Sujin fires back that staying cooped up inside will drive her completely insane. Mouji just shakes his head, knowing she'd never actually wear what he made her. He tells Mr. Su his daughter's low-key impossible to deal with, so he'll have to tag along to keep her safe. They pull up to the mall again pretty quick. Jin gets annoyed and asks if he's going to shadow her everywhere, and Mouji just says yeah, that's literally his job. She asks if he can give her just 1 day alone, but he tells her straight up that her dad dropped 20 million for him to stick with her. If she can beat that price, he'll bounce. Sujin rolls her eyes and says he's the absolute worst. She's thinking there's no way she can have any fun with this dude breathing down her neck. She needs to figure out how to ditch him somehow. Acting all innocent, she mentions needing to hit the bathroom and asks if he's really going to follow her in there too. Mouji knows she's being stubborn as hell and wonders if she actually thinks she can trick him. Sujin slips out through a window feeling pretty proud of herself, thinking he really thought he could keep her locked down. What he doesn't know is that everyone in the city calls her the Su family's little troublemaker. She's basically a pro at stirring up chaos wherever she goes. Right when she's about to make the jump, she spots Muwuji chilling down below, and Sujin's like totally caught off guard wondering how he got there so fast. Muwuji keeps his cool and tells her he's trying to be nice by giving her a heads up. He points out that he can see everything crystal clear from where he's standing, so she better get back inside immediately. Sujin backs away from the window thinking this dude is seriously strange. She's confused because he was literally downstairs a second ago, and there's no possible way he could have made it back up here already. When she peeks outside again, there's Muwuji just standing by the entrance like nothing happened. Getting frustrated, she wonders if this guy is even human or just teleports around because his speed is absolutely unreal. That's when Liao, who went to school with Muji, shows up out of nowhere. Liao grins and asks Wuji how things have been going since they haven't seen each other in forever. Muwuji thinks about how she was basically the queen of his high school and, yeah, he had it bad for her. Back in his past life when everyone ignored him, she actually helped him out. When Liao spots Sujin, she grins and asks if this pretty girl is his girlfriend, saying he really leveled up. Sujin immediately shoots back that she's definitely not his girlfriend and there's no way he could ever bag someone like her. Muwuji just smiles and asks Liao what she's been up to lately since it's been forever. Liao tells him he's totally different now, used to be this quiet kid but now he's got serious confidence. Muwuji just shrugs and says life hits different when you actually learn from it. Liao laughs and says his words sound way too deep for someone his age, then mentions her birthday party coming up. She tells him he better show up and that she'll text him all the details. She waves and says she'll leave them alone to continue their little date. Muji can't believe he just ran into Liao again after all this time. Back then, his life was pretty rough, but she was definitely one of the bright spots. His phone starts buzzing, and driver Kwan sounds panicked on the other end, saying the young miss took off with the car keys even though she doesn't have a license. Muji stays cool and tells him not to stress about it. He's thinking this girl really needs to learn her lesson the hard way. So he decides to call the cops on her. Sujin's cruising around feeling amazing, talking about how she's finally free and comparing herself to an eagle that can't be locked up. Out of nowhere, a police car cuts right in front of her. The cop walks up and tells her they got a call about someone driving without a license, so she needs to show them what she's got. He mentions she looks like the type who would actually have one. They tell her to get out so they can write up a report. That's when Muji shows up and basically roasts her, saying people without licenses shouldn't even touch cars since even people with licenses mess up all the time. Sujin stares him down hard. You actually called the cops on me? Muji just shrugs it off. What else was I supposed to do? I follow the rules and can't stand watching people break them. Sujin gets heated and tells him he's dead meat if she ever gets her chance. 3 days pass. Muji shows up at her door asking if she's still mad at him. Sujin keeps it ice cold, saying she doesn't want to look at his face and would rather be stuck inside than go anywhere with him. Muji tells her he actually needs her to help him out with something. Sujin can't believe what she's hearing and wonders if her ears are messed up or if he really just asked for her help. Muji gets serious and promises he'll make any wish of hers come true if she helps him. Sujin grins and warns him not to chicken out later. They both get dressed up and make their way to Liao's birthday party. Sujin reminds him that he promised to stop tailing her everywhere if she came to this party with him, and he better not try to back out tomorrow. Muji knows the killer bee is going to strike today, so he's planning to end this whole mess once and for all and finally put this cat and mouse game to rest. Liao spots them and gets all excited, telling Wuji she's so glad he made it, while some older guy named Li Hong from the Hummy group stands right next to her. Wuji compliments her, saying she looks even more stunning on her birthday, while Liao's thinking that girl must definitely be his girlfriend since they're together again. Liao introduces herself politely, telling Sujin it's nice to meet her and that she's Wuji's classmate. Sujin introduces herself back, saying her name's Sujin and dropping the bomb that she's actually Wuji's boss. Wuji's just standing there thinking about how this girl literally never passes up a chance to mess with him. Some guy nearby jumps into the conversation, acting all surprised that Wuji actually showed up to Liao's party, and Wuji immediately recognizes him as Wu Ming, that cocky piece of trash from school. This is the same lowlife who set him up by claiming Wuji stole his wallet when he knew damn well it wasn't true. After that whole setup, nasty rumors about him spread like wildfire through school, completely destroying his reputation and making every single day a nightmare just to get through. Wu Ming starts talking trash, saying Wuji's dressed nice but good clothes can't hide the fact that he's still broke, then keeps running his mouth with more garbage. Sujin's getting heated thinking about how every person who knows Wuji seems to be a complete waste of space, like, seriously, this is how you treat someone you haven't seen in forever? Sujin speaks up loud enough for everyone to hear, telling Wuji they should bounce because some annoying bug keeps making noise and it's giving her a massive headache. Wuji's ready to leave and tells her they can go. Wu Ming's losing it inside, thinking she just called him a bug and he can't figure out why such a gorgeous girl is hanging around with that loser Wuji when she's even hotter than their school's popular girl, Li Yao. Everyone starts buzzing about the VIP guests showing up, the Sun real estate boss and his son, and Li Hong thanks them for coming while Sun Defu apologizes for being late because of crazy traffic. The young master puts on a smooth act, wishing Liao a happy birthday and saying he hopes her next year is as beautiful as she is. Liao's thinking this young master guy is a total player who hits on every girl the same way, and she needs to stay as far away from him as possible. Young Master Sun spots Muuji and his mind starts working. He remembers, this is the same guy who was with Sujan that day. That guy totally wrecked me back then. Sujin had his back last time, but today nobody's gonna save him. Wu-ming walks over and goes, "Hey Mr. Sun, I'm Wu-ming. If you need anything handled, I'm your guy, always down to help." Young Master Sun thinks to himself that revenge just walked right up to him. He goes, "Bro, I need you to do me a solid. You see that dude over there? I want payback. I want to mess him up so bad he'll wish he never existed, and you're gonna help me pull it off." Wu-ming gets hyped thinking Mr. Sun wants him to do what he does best. Sometimes he feels like he was put on this earth just to make Muuji's life hell. Today he's gonna show everyone what he's capable of. Wu-ming breaks down his whole plan to young Master Sun. Meanwhile, Wuji tells Sujin that if she keeps going ham on the food like that, nobody's gonna buy that she's the most powerful guy in the city's daughter. She looks like she hasn't had a decent meal in forever. Sujin just shrugs it off, saying, "This is just some regular people's party. Nobody here knows who she really is, so she doesn't have to worry about keeping up appearances. This is the first party where she can actually eat whatever she wants without people recognizing her." Right then, Wu-ming starts yelling for Wuji to come over. Wuji thinks to himself, "Why is this guy calling me? He's definitely up to something sketchy." As Wuji starts heading that way, Sun Xiao suddenly comes charging past them, grabs Wuji's hand and starts yelling that Wuji just tried to pickpocket him. But when he tries to shove Wuji, Sun Xiao ends up falling down himself. Wu-ming immediately starts screaming that Muuji was stealing and then pushed the young master when he got busted. Wuji stays completely calm and thinks that he saw this setup coming from a mile away. Sujin gets annoyed and wonders what kind of stupid drama this is now since they won't even let her enjoy the food. Wu-ming's loud accusations make everyone at the party crowd around to see what's happening. The guests start talking among themselves about how someone dressed that nicely would still try to steal from people. Wuji gives them a cold warning that they're messing with the wrong person and making a serious mistake. Wu-ming just laughs and tells Wuji that he knows exactly what kind of person he really is. He explains that while not everyone here knows Wuji's history, their old classmates remember him as a fake show-off who steals to look impressive. Wu-ming keeps going about how Wuji probably stole throughout high school and that thieves never change, even in college. Well, right then, Liao jumps in and tells Wu-ming that he's got to be wrong about this. She says there's no way Wuji would do something that embarrassing. Wu-ming fires back with a smirk, saying Liao's way too nice and wouldn't spot trouble even if it smacked her in the face. Since Wuji's just human, obviously she can't see what he really is. He whips around to face Wuji and goes off about how gross it is to steal at someone's birthday party like this. That's when Sun Xiao tries to sneak his watch into Wuji's pocket without anyone noticing. But Wuji catches his hand right in the act. Sun Xiao immediately yells that he just pulled his watch back out of Wuji's pocket. Wuji stays ice cold and tells him there's no point arguing since they either think everyone here is blind or they think there's some kind of masterminds. While he's talking, he shoves Sun Xiao backwards hard enough to send him flying. Sun Dafu loses it completely and screams about how dare anyone put their hands on his son. Li Hong rushes over asking if young Master Sun is okay and checking on him. Then he spins around to Wuji with a serious threat, telling him he better get on his knees and apologize right now if he wants to make it out alive. Sun Dafu goes absolutely ballistic, yelling that touching his son means disrespecting their whole family. He threatens to throw such a massive legal case at Wuji that he'll rot in prison forever, demanding he get down and grovel for forgiveness. Wuji just stares them down and says he's not doing any of that garbage. He tells them to do whatever they want since they're all just jumping around over some fake knockoff watch acting like they run the place. The people they're so proud to know aren't even worth being his enemies. Sun Dafu just smirks and calls him a failed thief who couldn't even steal the watch right, and now he's talking crazy. He asks if Wuji even knows how much that watch costs. That's when Sujin steps up with this mocking look on her face. She's like, "Why is there so much drama at some broke people's party? That watch probably isn't even worth a couple thousand and he keeps acting like it's some treasure." She asks if he sold everything his family owned just to buy one watch and why he's making such a big scene over it. Sun Xiao starts freaking out inside, wondering what this girl is even doing here. Sujin keeps going, telling everyone her dad has mad respect for Wuji and already warned her that if she ever disrespected him, he wouldn't forgive her. She mentions how someone was talking about filing a case and says they'll be facing a defamation lawsuit worth millions for trying to mess with Wuji. The Su family is backing that lawsuit and she wants to see how much money they really have to go up against them. Even if they sold everything they owned, it wouldn't even make the Su family break a sweat. She turns to Wuji and says she was too busy eating cake earlier to say anything, but asks why he didn't just knock this guy's teeth out since just looking at his face makes her mad. She says she'll tell her dad to destroy the Sun family since they're arrogant and annoying. Li Hong is shocked and wonders who this girl even is. He's thinking that Sun Xiao has power and fame, so if Li Yao stays close to people like that, it would help her out. He can't let these random people mess up his plans. Sujin just calmly asks how ordinary people like them would even recognize her anyway, but says Sun Dafu should know exactly who she is. Sun Dafu loses it and yells for someone to throw this girl out since she's been talking nonsense for way too long. Sujin realizes this old guy seriously has no clue who she is. He probably can't wrap his head around someone with real money showing up to this basic party, and he's never actually seen her face before. Sujin's voice goes ice cold as she tells him he's about to mess up big time. Wooji says, nah, bring your bodyguards. Some people only get it when you use your fists instead of talking, and he already knew this was going to get physical anyway, which is why he kept his mouth shut. Right then, a bunch of bodyguards close in around them. Sun Chao barks orders for them to move in and wreck Wooji, telling them to break both his legs. Wooji keeps his cool and tells the girls to back up because he's got this handled. When Wooji lets his energy loose, the whole atmosphere around them shifts like crazy. Everyone starts freaking out, wondering what the hell is going on. He activates his multi-shadow clone technique. Wooji demolishes all of them in literally 1 second. Sujin gets hyped and yells for Wooji to beat Sundafu down since the guy was running his mouth way too much. Sun Daffy freaks out and screams that he's the chairman of Sun Real Estate, claiming Wooji might be strong but can't mess with him. Wooji just casually slaps him to the side like he's swatting a fly. Sun Xiao completely loses it and screams about how Wooji dared to hit his father. Wooji stays totally calm and says he barely even touched the guy. If he'd actually used any real force, that old man would be dead right now. Sun Xiao gets mad and admits Wooji's got skills but says he's getting way too cocky. Wooji steps up and calls him out for planning this whole setup to embarrass him, saying since they showed such tight teamwork, he'll help bring them even closer together. He grabs both their heads and slams them into each other. Sujin starts cracking up and tells Wooji that was incredible. For a second there, it felt like watching some action movie hero destroying the bad guys. Li Hong starts begging them to just leave, saying he knows they're Liao's friends and he'll handle apologizing to everyone so they don't have to mess up their lives over this. Liao jumps in and tells his dad that Wu Ming already spilled everything earlier. It was totally their fault and they were just trying to set up Wu Ji. While everyone's still arguing, someone new shows up at the party. People start whispering about why Su Wen, this massive business boss, just walked in. Su Wen walks up and asks Wu Ji what's going down, and Li Hong's mind is blown seeing this rich guy talk to some kid so respectfully. Sun Dafu starts yelling at Li Hong to call the cops because this punk needs to rot in jail for at least 10 years. Li Hong tells Sun Dafu to open his eyes and see who just walked in. Sun Dafu's jaw drops when he realizes it's actually Mr. Su Wen standing there. Su Wen keeps it cool and tells Mr. Dafu that this should stay between the kids, but if he wants to back his son, then Su Wen's gonna back Wu Ji and that won't end well for anyone. Sun Dafu freaks out and asks if that girl was actually Su Wen's daughter. He immediately drops down and grabs onto Wuji's legs, begging for forgiveness and saying he had no clue who he was messing with. Wuji's voice turns cold as he tells the old man to get his hands off his shoes because he's making them dirty. Sujin feels pretty satisfied knowing her family could totally destroy the Sun family without breaking a sweat. Out of nowhere, a bunch of girls start rushing toward Wuji. As Sun Dafu walks away, he's mumbling apologies to Wuji and promising to deal with his worthless son for messing with someone this powerful. Master Lin suddenly jumps in and tells Wuji that some people from the Wumeng are looking to meet him. Wuji looks confused and asks who these Wumeng people are. Master Lin breaks it down. Basically, every martial artist in the country is part of this Wumeng alliance. The big shots running this alliance have serious power across the whole country. Master Lin walks in and tells his boss that he brought Wuji like they asked. He introduces Bai Shishan, who runs the second branch of their city's Wumeng alliance. Another alliance member looks at Wuji and goes, "So this is the kid called Wuji? Brother Lin hyped you up so much I was expecting some legendary fighter, but you're just some teenager who's supposed to take on Killer B." Bai Shishan jumps in saying the kid's gotta have some real talent or he wouldn't be crazy enough to go up against someone like Killer B. Wuji sounds totally done with this and tells them to hurry up and get to the point because he's got better things to do. Bai Shishan explains they got word that not only Su Xin but also Li Hong's daughter Li Yao are going to get targeted, so they came to keep Li Yao safe and figured they might as well check in with him too. Wuji's voice goes ice cold as he tells them they just wasted his time with something completely pointless. The alliance guy gets heated and snaps at Wuji, asking how he thinks he can talk to their boss like that and if he even knows who he's dealing with. Bai Shishan cuts him off and tells him that's enough. He turns back to Wuji and says they're not trying to start beef with him, but Killer B is seriously bad news and they'll be watching his back from the shadows. If things go south, we'll jump in right away because he won't have to face this psycho alone. Wuji stays completely chill and tells them he's not some weakling who needs backup, and if something shows up that even he can't handle, these guys definitely wouldn't stand a chance against it either. The alliance member grumbles under his breath that this kid thinks way too highly of himself. Bishishan shrugs it off, saying, in a few days, Killer B is going to take this kid out anyway, so why even bother with someone who's already dead meat? Another member starts cracking up and agrees that, yeah, this boy's not making it out alive. Later on, Wuji walks over to Li Yao and starts talking to her. He tells Li Yao that with all the crazy stuff that went down earlier, he totally forgot to give her the birthday present he brought. When Li Yao sees the gift, she says it looks way too expensive and she can't take something that costs that much. Wuji tells her to keep it on her no matter what because it's meant to keep her safe. Li Yao nods and promises that if he says it's important, she'll make sure to have her with her all the time. Sujin's low-key heated thinking about how this guy is using her family's jade just to show off and impress everyone. Liao gets excited and thanks Wuji, then mentions they're about to start the costume party and she already picked out an outfit for him to wear. Wuji heads off to get changed into the costume. When he spots someone in a rabbit costume, he asks who it is, and Sujin pops her head out asking if he actually figured out it was her. Wuji grins and tells her that out of everyone at this party, she's the only one with such weird energy. Right then, Liao shows up looking absolutely stunning in her costume. She gets all self-conscious and asks why he's looking at her like that and if something's wrong with how she looks. Wuji tells her she's not strange at all, she actually looks really beautiful, and when she asks if he wants to dance with her, he gets awkward and admits he has no clue how to dance. Liao just laughs it off and says it's totally fine, she'll show him how. Sujin grumbles to herself about feeling like a third wheel watching some cheesy romance unfold, and it's low-key making her mad. Out of nowhere, all the lights cut out. Then Wuji hears Sujin screaming somewhere in the darkness. Wuji quickly tells Liao to stay put while he goes to help Sujin. The second Wuji takes off, someone creeps up on Liao from behind, but the jade pendant straight up blocks the hit. The assassin freaks out and goes, "There's some kind of shield on her, we gotta bounce right now." Outside, the boss assassin's like, "Did you mess up getting Li Han's daughter?" The guy says back, "She had this protective thing around her and we couldn't even get close." That's when Sha Shan shows up and says, "Hong Wang, you're still breathing? Wumeng Alliance has you surrounded, you're not getting out of this one." Hong Wang just laughs it off, saying, "How many times has Wumeng tried to take me down? They always fail, and today's gonna be the same story." Then Wuji rolls up and says, "Except this time they're gonna win because I wasn't helping them before, but now I'm here so they can't lose. Give me Sujin and maybe I'll let you live, but if you don't, you're gonna regret it." Jia Shan tries to warn him, telling Wuji to back off because Hong Wang is on his level and Wuji's gonna get himself killed. Wuji just stares him down and says he's got exactly 1 minute to wrap up his fight, then it becomes his problem to deal with. Jia Shan jumps in swinging. Hong Wang sneers at Jia Shan, telling him he really messed up by underestimating him. Now he's gonna pay big time for that stupid mistake. Hong Wang pulls out his dagger and drives it straight into Bai Shashan's gut. Hong Wang starts cracking up, asking if Shashan really thought he'd just use basic fighting moves to take him down. He's not that dumb, and today Shashan's getting deleted. Right then, Wuji shows up out of nowhere and absolutely destroys Hong Wang with a brutal kick. Wuji stays totally chill and tells him his minute is up, so now it's his turn to handle business. Bai Shashan's mind is blown thinking about how insanely powerful this guy is. He's like 10 times stronger, and now he gets why Wuji was so confident earlier. Hong Wang gets heated and starts wondering where this absolute unit came from, but he's still convinced he's gonna win no matter what. The dude pops some kind of pill. His power level goes completely crazy after that, and Hong Wang starts yelling about how he just took his family's banned medicine that's giving him enough strength to wreck anybody. "You made me do this, so now I'm gonna unleash everything I've got on you." Wuji goes in for another attack and says the guy needs to shut up. Everyone knows dogs that bark the loudest don't actually bite. He absolutely slams Hong Wang straight into the ground. Jia Shan just stares in complete shock, thinking this kid isn't even human, he's basically a monster, and he's glad he never got on his bad side or he'd be the one getting wrecked right now. Scene cuts to Sujin getting dragged away by the assassins, and she's wondering if she's actually been kidnapped. One of the assassins gets all creepy and says she's gorgeous, and he can barely keep his hands off her. Sujin yells at them not to touch her, but the guy in front just laughs and says there's no rush since their boss gets first dibs, then they'll all get their turn, while another dude grins and says he's at least gonna steal a kiss right now. Sujin's freaking out inside, wondering where Wuji is and thinking she never should have left his side. Out of nowhere, Wuji blasts past their car at insane speed. Sujin feels it right away, she's sensed this energy before. Could it really be Wuji coming for her? With just one move, Wuji completely stops their car dead. When he gets out, one of the assassins screams that he just ruined their whole plan. The guy starts blasting at him with his gun. Wuji just casually deflects every bullet like it's nothing. The assassin's freaking out now, realizing they can't touch this dude. But they've still got the girl as their ace card. The guy threatens to toss her in the river if Wuji doesn't back down, but Wuji just gives him this ice-cold stare and basically dares him to try it. The assassin's like, "You think I won't actually do it? Watch this." He chucks Sujin straight into the water and yells at Wuji to do his worst now. Right then, Wuji absolutely demolished the assassin with one punch, and dove straight into the water after her, pulling Sujin out before anything bad could happen. Sujin wondered whose hands were holding her. She felt totally protected and safe with him. They made it back to the Su family's place after everything went down. Wuji turns to Su-won and asks if he figured out who sent those guys after them. Su-won tells him their crew got there too late. The assassins had already taken themselves out. That's when Sujin finally comes to and calls Wuji over to her. Wuji walks over and sits down next to her, checking if he's doing okay now. Out of nowhere, Sujin smacks him and gets mad, telling him he's awful for ditching her when he said he'd keep her safe. Su jumps in and tells her off, saying Sujin can't talk to Mr. Wuji that way. He reminds her that without Wuji showing up today, she'd be dead right now. Wuji stays cool and tells Mr. Su that Sujin has every right to be mad since she got grabbed because he messed up. Sujin's mind goes blank as she realizes Wooji was actually the one who pulled her out of that mess. Wooji smirks and asks if she's planning to get off him or just camp out there forever. Suwin jumps in and mentions that the Sun family got the reality check and now they're begging to apologize. Sun Xiao bows super low and tells Mr. Wooji they had no clue who he really was, and if they'd known, they never would have crossed him. Sun Defu steps up saying he knows he doesn't have much to offer, but since he acted like trash yesterday, he's got a check ready as his apology. Wooji tells him to drop the check on the table but warns them that if either of them gets anywhere near his sister again, things will get ugly fast. Sun Xiao quickly promises that from now on he'll treat Wooji's sister like his own and swears he'll never even think about hurting her. Wooji knows that most of Killer Bee's crew was already taken down. Now he needs to force Killer Bee to come out and fight him directly, and he's got a plan to make that happen. Wooji shows up at an internet cafe to get things started. On the dark web, everyone's talking about how Killer Bee just got back from overseas and he's targeting Sujin next. They're all saying she's done for this time. But some people are arguing back, saying this guy Wooji took on a mission to stop Killer Bee and might actually pull it off. The whole dark web is going crazy with arguments. That's when Wooji drops his post. He writes that someone like Killer Bee isn't even good enough to mop his floors, and asks how anyone thinks he could beat him. Then he puts 10 million on himself to win and dares everyone to bet against him. Right away, people start throwing money on both Wooji and Killer Bee like it's the fight of the century. Back at the office, Master Len tells Suwon what's happening, how Wooji started this whole betting thing and put 10 million on himself, so Suwon immediately tells him to bet 20 million on Wooji under the company name because he knows Wooji's gonna win big. At the same time, Sujin's being stubborn and telling Wooji that no matter what he says, she's going out today whether he likes it or not. Wooji grins to himself, watching his bet blow up all over the dark web exactly like he wanted. Sujin gets frustrated and says she's not listening to him, she's leaving the house today no matter what. Wooji knows she doesn't get it. Killer Bee's back, and after he took out so many of his guys, there's no chance he won't strike today, so letting her leave isn't happening. Sujin gets emotional and asks what his problem is. She tells him she needs to find the guy who saved her life because she felt safer with him than ever before, and staying inside won't help her track down her hero. Wooji drags her into the room and tells her straight up she's not going anywhere today, sensing some seriously deadly vibes and knowing Killer Bee is definitely lurking somewhere in the mansion. Sujin snaps back that if her hero was here right now, he wouldn't put up with Wooji's attitude either. Wooji goes cold and tells her to put on the bracelet and quit complaining. He reminds her she has no idea how much danger she's actually in today. 4 hours drag by while they're stuck in that room. Wooji's thinking that Killer Bee is just as patient as he is, waiting for the right moment to strike. If he doesn't create an opening, the guy won't show himself. Out of nowhere, Wooji casually mentions he spotted this cute rabbit chilling in the garden. Sujin's eyes light up immediately. Wait, a rabbit? Where exactly? Wooji points toward the window and tells her it's hiding somewhere behind that big pole outside. Sujin bolts outside without thinking twice, eager to find the little rabbit. Wooji's mind is locked in. He just set the trap and now he's waiting to see if Killer Bee takes the bait. The second Wooji steps out of the room, everything changes. Thus Calendly. Killer Bee comes at him hard and fast, launching his attack. Wooji's genuinely confused for a second. Why is this psycho coming after him when Sujin was supposed to be the main target? Killer Bee's going absolutely feral as he attacks, basically saying Wooji called him trash who wasn't good enough to clean floors, and now he's going to show him what a real killer looks like. Wooji doesn't hesitate and throws a brutal punch right back at him, and launches him straight into the wall. Wooji's thinking this dude actually took that hit and stayed standing. He's definitely not some amateur. Meanwhile, Killer Bee's realizing this guy hits way too hard, and if he doesn't bounce right now, he's basically dead. So he chucks a smoke bomb and fills the whole area with thick gray clouds, then books it out of there. Wooji takes off after him without missing a beat. Killer Bee's mind is blown, like how is this even possible? He's supposed to be the fast one here, he's literally a ninja, but this martial arts guy is keeping up no problem, so now he's got to get creative with his escape. When they get to the river, Killer Bee just vanishes straight into the water. Wooji stays cool and admits the guy's got some serious speed. Down below the surface, Killer Bee's been holding his breath for 30 minutes, thinking there's no way Wooji's still waiting around up there. He's running out of air and knows he has to surface before he passes out. The second he pops his head up, Wooji is standing right there on the water. He grins and says, Killer Bee's got some serious lung capacity. Dude could probably be a professional diver if he wasn't busy being an assassin. Killer Bee freaks out seeing Wooji literally standing on water and starts yelling about whether this guy is even human or some kind of superhero. Wooji stays cool and tells him he hasn't even seen his real skills yet. He reaches down and yanks Killer Bee straight out of the river. Killer Bee gets mad and admits Wooji is tough, but he's not going down without a fight. He pulls out a knife and goes for a quick stab. Wooji just catches the blade like it's nothing, then flicks it away like it weighs nothing. Killer Bee's whole body starts shaking as he realizes this dude's strength is on another level. Even his clan leader would probably get wrecked by this guy. Wooji casually tosses the knife back at him and takes out Killer Bee right there. While Wooji was heading back, his sister texts him saying their mom really misses him. She asks if he could come home when he gets the chance. Wooji feels something warm inside, thinking about how if Mom wants to see him, he'll definitely make the trip back for his family. The next day at some internet cafe, Wooji's roommate is completely losing it, crying about how he blew through all his cash. Everyone around starts talking about how gambling always ends badly. One minute you're on top, next minute you're totally broke. They're saying this guy actually sold his dad's whole property just to bet on Killer B, and now he's lost everything. The roommate's crying his eyes out, saying he's completely screwed and doesn't know how he'll face his dad after Killer B got beaten when everyone thought he was unbeatable. Sujin walks over and hands Wooji a stack of cash, telling him here's his 50 million since he bet 10 million on himself, and her dad made 100 million profit too. He mentions that later on, he's gonna have to help her track down the hero who saved her life. Wooji gets on the train and thinks to himself that if Sujin ever figures out he was the one who rescued her, she'll never leave him alone so she can never find out. The train announcement comes on saying the next stop is coming up and passengers should grab their stuff. Wooji taps the woman sleeping next to him, telling her to wake up since they're here and everyone's getting off, but he can't move with her leaning on him. Right as he's helping her stand up, a bunch of guys storm onto the train. They start yelling that they found her, the Yu family's daughter, Yu Zia Tong, who they've been hunting for. They demand she hands over the elixir and they'll let her walk away without getting hurt. Say no and this metal bat's gonna hurt real bad. Tong nervously tells Wooji she's sorry he got mixed up in this mess because of her. These guys are seriously dangerous and he needs to get out of here. One of the thugs laughs and says they're not here to play games. Nobody's walking away once they show up. Right then, Tong breaks through a window and pulls Wooji out with her. The thug yells that they can run all they want, but there's no escaping. This girl's definitely protecting something worth a lot of money, which means the elixir has to be on her. Tong tells Wooji she'll try to keep Woohong busy for a bit so he can get away. She doesn't want some random person getting killed because of her problems. Woohong charges forward laughing, saying running around won't save them and they're not getting out of this. Tong puts up some kind of energy barrier to protect herself. It breaks apart like glass in seconds. Woohong moves in and throws a nasty punch right at her. Woohong grabs the elixir and starts laughing, saying this little thing can actually bring dead people back to life. He tells her that rich families think they can buy anything, even death itself, but today he's here to mess that up. Her grandfather won't be getting this medicine, and he's definitely not making it. Tong feels completely crushed inside, thinking about how she failed her grandpa and couldn't save him. She yells at Wooji to get out of there because Woohong is seriously strong, and there's no way he can take this guy on. Woohong's crew moves in on Wooji, telling their boss they've got this covered and he doesn't need to get his hands dirty. Wooji absolutely destroys them without breaking a sweat and sends them crashing hard into the train floor. Woohong gets pissed and calls him out for messing with his people. Wooji stays completely chill and asks if Woohong even bothered checking who he was before starting this fight, because if he had, he never would have tried this. He throws a punch that connects perfectly with Woohong. The hit sends Woohong flying all the way from the first train car to the 10th one. Woohong's coughing up blood, but he's still laughing, realizing Wooji is actually a Grandmaster level fighter. In his whole province, only Mr. Speed has reached that level. But you're way too young for that. Are you some kind of crazy prodigy or something? Wooji just stares at him and says he doesn't know who any of those people are. All he knows is that he's way stronger than every single one of them. He looks over at Tong and checks if she's hurt. Tong can't believe what just happened and thanks him for saving her life. Woohong quickly hands the elixir back and starts begging for forgiveness. He says if he knew who Wooji really was, he never would have messed with him. After Woohong and his crew bail, Tong asks for the medicine back since it's super important to her. Wooji tells her she should have kept something this valuable in better protection since it's so easy to break. He goes to hand it over to her, but then the medicine bottle slips right out of his fingers. It hits the ground and completely shatters into pieces. Wooji just looks down at the mess and casually asks if it would still work if he picked up the broken pieces for her. Tong immediately grabs onto his leg and starts freaking out, telling him that since he broke the elixir, he has to help her now. While she's doing this, Tong remembers her brother teaching her this move. She's determined to bring this powerful guy back home no matter what. Tong started putting on a whole show, crying loudly about how her grandfather was dying at home and needed this medicine to survive. She begged anyone around to help save her poor grandpa. Wooji let out a tired sigh and told her to quit the acting, he'd go with her. Tong bowed and thanked him like crazy, but inside she was pumped that her brother's manipulation trick actually worked on such a strong guy. Wooji was confused about why he'd even need broken medicine at home, and couldn't figure out why this girl seemed so happy about everything. The moment they walked out of the station, Tong's brother was already there waiting to pick them up. Jianyo looked at the stranger and asked his little sister who this guy was. Tong said it was complicated and she'd fill him in during the ride. Jianyo asked if she managed to get the item she went to grab. Tong nodded and said, yeah, she got it, but then it slipped and broke into pieces. Jianyo freaked out and couldn't believe she let that happen. That medicine was literally their grandpa's only chance to live. They pulled up to the Yu family house pretty quick. The doctors threw their hands up and said they were done. There was no way they could save Mr. Yu this time. Zhang Miao was beating himself up inside, thinking he messed up big time by sending Tong instead of going himself to save Grandpa. The second Tong walked through the door, her dad rushed over looking stressed out. He already heard what went down and just wanted to know if she was okay. Tong couldn't even look him in the eye and apologize for trying her hardest but still screwing everything up. Her uncle was heated and started going off about how he warned them not to send Tong, but nobody listened because they didn't trust him with their family business. He kept ranting about how they put all their faith in Tong and look what she brought back. If they'd just listened to him, none of this would have happened. Tong stood her ground and told her dad that, yeah, she couldn't save the medicine, but they weren't completely out of options since she found this crazy strong master who might be able to hate Grandpa. She pointed behind her and said he was right there with them. Meet Mr. Wuji. Yu-fan started cracking up and said this was just some random kid, like Tong literally grabbed a high schooler off the street and was calling him a master. No surprise, she dropped the medicine when she trusts literally anyone she bumps into. Even Tong's dad was having second thoughts about whether they could really count on someone so young. Wuji didn't even acknowledge their doubts and walked straight over to check out Tong's grandfather. Wuji stayed totally calm and explained that all the old man's energy pathways were completely jammed up, which was why his body was shutting down. Yu-fan lost it and yelled at the kid, asking who said he could just waltz in there and start touching their grandfather like he was some hotshot doctor. Without even blinking, Wuji just flicked his wrist and sent Yu-fan flying across the room. Everyone in the Yu family just stood there with their jaws on the floor. Tong's father couldn't believe what he was seeing. His daughter wasn't making stuff up. This kid was actually insanely powerful, way beyond what any normal fighter could pull off. He dropped to his knees immediately and begged Wuji to please save his father's life. The doctor sitting there rolled his eyes and basically said, forget it, if they're going to trust some random kid, then he's out and doesn't want to be called again. He just got up and left, telling them never to contact him anymore. Tong's dad was low-key panicking inside, thinking he just made the city's best doctor mad and now he could only hope things would work out somehow. Tong looked at Wuji with worry and asked if he could actually save her grandfather. Wuji just shrugged it off, saying the old man's condition was basically like having a cold, nothing crazy serious, and he'd be totally fine. Tong felt way better hearing that and asked what he needed to get started with the treatment. Wuji told her his hands were all he needed, nothing else required. Everyone just stood there confused, thinking he was going to beat up the old man or something. Tong's father got nervous and asked Wuji what he meant about beating his elderly dad. Wuji stayed calm and explained that sometimes fights aren't won with weapons but with needles, and sometimes healing doesn't need pills, just hands. Yu-fan lost it and started screaming, "You just hit me and now you're going to kill my dad? I'm not letting you get away with this." Wuji just kicked him across the room again without even trying. Then Wuji started his treatment by straight up beating the old man. Even Tong was having second thoughts about this whole thing, like, did I mess up bringing this guy here? He's going at Grandpa like he's doing laundry. Wuji was throwing punches, kicks, hitting from every angle possible. Then he picked up the old man and basically body slammed him onto the bed. Yu-fan went absolutely crazy screaming that Wuji was a monster who beats people worse than enemies and killed his father, then immediately tried claiming he should be the new family head. Tong suddenly noticed something and told everyone to hold up because Grandpa was actually sitting up. Tong's dad rushed over asking his father how he was feeling. Master Yu looked shocked and said he felt amazing, like his whole body got lighter, all his pain was gone, and the stiffness that had been killing him just vanished completely. Wuji stayed cool and explained he wasn't beating the old man up, he was fixing his energy channels, and now Grandpa was actually stronger than before, but since nobody trusted him anyway, he was bouncing. As Wuji headed for the door, Tom's dad quickly stopped him and said the Yu family owed him big time. They'd do anything for him, even walk through fire. Then Wuji casually asked if they had any spiritual herbs lying around. Tom's father said they'd used up all their herbs trying to help Grandpa, but he'd personally get Wuji the best quality ones he could find, while Yu-fan just stood there mumbling about how everything went wrong. Wuji said he had other stuff to handle and needed to leave, so Tom's father told him he'd already set up a car and driver to take him wherever he wanted to go. Sitting in the back seat, Wuji finally felt like he was heading home for real. He thought about his mom and how she'd worked her whole life for him, but in the end she got killed and he never gave her or his sister even one happy moment. But this time around, things were going to be different. He was going to give his mom the good life she deserved, with money, comfort, and all the happiness she never got before. When Wuji got home, his sister Mulan lit up and said she was so glad he finally made it back. They sat down to eat together, and his mom looked worried as she told him he'd gotten way too skinny. You gotta eat right if you want to stay healthy and grow properly. I know living alone in the city is expensive and tough, but if you ever need help with anything, just tell me. There's no reason for you to struggle by yourself. That's when Wuji spotted the burn scars covering his mom's hands. His mind went back to when he was 8 and tried making dinner for her, but he couldn't handle how heavy the pot was. When all that boiling hot food was about to splash all over him, his mom came running and threw herself between him and the danger. Those nasty burn marks never went away after that day, and Wuji quietly said, "Mom, honestly, you've sacrificed so much for me I can't even keep track of it all. I'm sorry you got hurt protecting me and that I basically wrecked your life. I couldn't protect anyone back then, but I swear this time will be different." He moved closer and said, "Mom, please forgive me for everything." She gave him this warm smile and said, "Why would you need to apologize? You're doing great with your studies and that's all I could ever want from you. You don't need my forgiveness for anything." Wuji told her mom, "I actually made some good money while I was gone and I'm going to pay off all our debts tomorrow. Then we're getting a new place to live." But his mother got serious and said, "Making money is hard work, so if you've got some, you better respect it and spend it wisely." Wuji grinned and told her that money didn't matter at all. Seeing her happy was worth everything to him. His mom was thinking that if his dad could see Wooji now, he'd be so proud because their son turned out to be the most amazing kid ever. After that, Wooji headed to this fancy real estate office to check out some houses. He was thinking he wanted something big with a nice setup. This place had to have what he was looking for. Right then, this crazy expensive Ferrari pulled up and everyone started talking about how some loaded person just showed up with that rare model. This girl got out and said she had a good feeling they'd score something nice at this place. The older guy with her, Jupanda, told her that whatever she wanted, they'd make it happen no problem. People around were whispering about how wild it was, this college-age girl rolling with some old dude just because he had cash. Inside, Wooji was checking out apartments while the sales lady went on about how this one was right downtown with sick views and everything, plus most units were already gone. Wooji just said straight up that he wanted the most expensive place they had. He wanted something that faced both the ocean and got good sunlight. Money wasn't even a factor. He'd pay whatever it took as long as it checked all his boxes. The girl took a closer look at him and was like, "Wait, is that really Wooji?" Wooji looked back at her and said, "Yeah, it's Zume." Zume gave him this fake smile and started roasting him. She was all like, "Oh, you still remember my name, huh? Remember how you used to follow me around in middle school calling me pretty sister? But seriously, you're here looking at houses when your family was broke as hell. These places cost crazy money and you can't even afford a down payment." Wooji was thinking to himself that yep, this was definitely the same Zume from back in the day. He used to be totally obsessed with her in middle school and would even steal money from home just to buy her snacks and take her to movies. Basically, she was using him the whole time and he was too dumb to see it. But damn, she looked completely different now, probably got a bunch of plastic surgery done. Then she turned to her old boyfriend and said she really wanted an apartment in this building. Wooji just stayed cool, pulled out his card, and told the saleswoman he'd take the Ocean View unit and to charge his card right now. The saleswoman kept it professional and told Zume sorry, but this guy was here first and already bought the place, so maybe she could check out their other buildings since company rules meant no takebacks once something was sold. Zume got heated and said the salesgirl was getting played. She couldn't believe the woman was actually buying into his whole "I have money" act. She started spilling everything about their school days, how his mom had to get loans just so he could attend their junior high, and how broke his family was back then. Now he's acting like he can drop millions on an apartment. She told him to forget about him and sell to her instead. She'd pay half up front. Right then, the salesgirl ran his card through the machine. She looked up and said the transaction didn't work, asking if he put in the right password. Zume laughed and said the password wasn't the problem. His account was just empty. She kept going on about how he was still the same poor kid from school. Wooji stayed cool and said he forgot his card had hit its daily limit. He asked if the apartment was really $5 million and said he'd just transfer the money online instead. A few seconds later, the salesgirl's whole attitude changed as she congratulated him. The payment went through perfectly. Zume just stood there completely shocked. She couldn't wrap her head around how this guy she remembered as broke could suddenly drop that much cash. She turned to her boyfriend all frustrated, saying she didn't care what happened, she wanted a house and he better make it happen. Her boyfriend flashed his cocky smile and told her not to stress. He'd get her that apartment today for sure. He bragged about knowing the sales manager personally and said they wouldn't dare say no to him. He called out to some guy named Xiaobin to come over. Xiaobin rushed over, acting all respectful, calling the boyfriend President Jupanda and apologizing for not greeting him properly. Jupanda played it cool, saying he just came to check out houses and really wanted that sea-facing apartment, but the staff straight up refused to sell it to him. Xiaobin got serious and promised to look into it immediately, saying he'd find out who had the nerve to refuse him. Then he walked up to Wooji and said he needed to talk to him about something. He asked if Wooji could let them have the apartment instead, offering him a 20% discount on any other property as compensation. Wooji kept his cool and said once he makes up his mind about something, he doesn't change it for anybody. Xiaobin got mad and started going off on Wooji, telling him not to cause problems since the real estate belonged to their family and they could sell to whoever they wanted and refuse whoever they wanted. He told Wooji to just leave. Right then, this guy Yujing walked in while on his phone, asking someone to send him meeting details. He was talking about how their sea-facing project was crushing it with every apartment already sold. Then he spotted Woogi standing there. Xiaobin started yelling at him, asking what he was staring at and telling him to either buy a different place or get lost. He said they'd give him his money back, but he needed to stop standing around being annoying. Yujong suddenly spoke up, saying, "Mr. Wooji, I knew we'd run into each other again. It's really good to see you." Jupanda was totally confused about why the heir to Yu Corporation was talking to this guy, especially since Yu Jiang barely gave other big shots the time of day. So what made this dude so special? Yu Jiang kept talking, introducing himself and explaining how Wooji came to his house with Tong before, and how he was the one driving that day. But Wooji probably didn't notice him since he's Tong's older brother, and they never really got to chat. Wooji nodded and said, yeah, he remembered now, and actually he could use Yu Jian's help since he was trying to buy that Ocean View apartment, but the staff told him he wasn't qualified to buy from their company. Yu Jian's face went stone cold as he asked who had the balls to talk to him like that. He demanded to know who decided who could and couldn't buy property there, and who had the nerve to disrespect their family's benefactor like that. It was basically a slap in the face to the Yu family. Then Xiaobin quickly jumped in, saying that apartment was actually reserved for Mr. Jupanda, so they had to refuse. Ju Panda got nervous and started apologizing to Mr. Yu, saying he didn't know who Wuji was and it wouldn't happen again. But Yu Jian cut him off cold, telling Ju Panda he was banned from Yu Corporation forever, and if he ever showed up at any Yu family property again it would be his last day. Then he turned to Zhao Bin and told him to leave the city since he'd never find work there again. Zume just stood there frozen, trying to figure out what was happening since she knew Mawuchi and his whole family were broke, like generationally poor where nobody had ever seen real money. So where did all this wealth suddenly come from, and how did the same guy who used to do anything just to make her smile turn into this? Ju Panda lost it and smacked her, yelling that this whole mess was all her fault. He told her to get lost and asked how much more embarrassment she wanted to put him through. Going against the Yu family in this city basically means you're done for. They run everything here, and now he was completely screwed with nowhere to turn.